Hello all, good morning. Thanks for joining in us on Sunday morning. This is lead developer Arvind speaking from Ethnus. So once again, welcome all to the programming logic and coding section of TCS Ninja National Qualifier Test 2020. So what we are going to be covering today will be basically based on programming logic and coding section. So that's what we are going to be discussing on this live event. Okay. So there is one, the way in which TCS asks questions. So that is predominantly the same. Every time the way in which they ask the questions will be same. The topics in which they're going to test the candidates, that is not going to be changing. But the actual questions might be changing. However, the pattern in which they ask the question or the kind of question that they ask, that will not be changing. Okay. So for example, today we are going to be discussing about two different sections, that is programming logic section as well as coding section. So both in programming logic section and coding section, we are going to be discussing about in what are all the areas in which TCS is going to test the candidates. Now, if we are very clear about the pattern and if we are very clear about why are they doing that particular question, why are they having that particular question, if you can answer that question, what it means to TCS. So if we know that, then definitely we will be able to prepare for any kind of question that they are going to ask. Okay. So the areas in which TCS is going to ask the question, that will remain almost constant. Okay. That is not going to change. For example, in programming logic, from the day they have started TCS Code Beta, the kind of questions that are appearing, the areas in which the questions are asked, that will be remaining the same. But the actual question might be different. Okay. So we will be discussing few questions over today, and then you will get an idea of what kind of questions TCS generally will ask in their TCS Ninja exam. Okay. So yeah, before starting off with the actual questions, there are two things that we need to be very sure here. Okay. The first thing is, whenever we are discussing a particular question, I will also give you few tips on why TCS is asking this question. For testing which concept the TCS is asking this question, you can please make a note of it. So that is what will make you easily adapt for TCS questions. Okay. So that is the first one. And then the next one is, what are all the kind of small things that you can do, small tips I will be giving you, which will make you to answer this question easily. That will not take a lot of time for you to analyze the question. Okay. So these are the two things that I will be discussing about for each and every question. So I've got about 4 programming logic question. So those are basically MCQs. Okay. So multiple choice based questions. So the multiple choice based questions basically will be from either C or Java. Okay. So these are the two languages that TCS Ninja will be targeting, either C or Java. Predominantly, it's going to be from C. 2 or 3 questions might appear from data structures as well, but that will be very basic data structure. Okay. So guys, you need not worry about data structures a lot, because in the coming videos, we will be covering what kind of data structures question that they will ask. Okay. Maximum it will be 2 out of 10. Okay. 2 or 3 questions out of 10 will be from data structures. So you don't have to worry about that. So that is about programming logic. It is basically will be containing MCQs. Okay. Multiple choice question. Now, in the multiple choice question, let's understand what are all the kind of questions that TCS might ask. So the first category of the questions will be like predict the output for the given code. Okay. So they are going to give you the code that will be most based on, mostly it will be based on C or Java. So then they'll ask you to predict the output. Okay. So this is the first variety of code, first variety of questions that you might get in the TCS Ninja. Okay. The second category of questions might be error spotting or fixing. Okay. So they will wantedly, they'll introduce a bug in the code. Now our job is to find the error and then fix it. Okay. So that will be the second category of question. And then the third category will be, it will be like a basic definition kind of. Okay. So wherein you might have to define or answer which is right amongst the following statement. So those kind of theory based question. So I can also very well say this as theory based questions. Okay. So these are the three categories of question that they might ask you. Okay. So we will be preparing for each and every one of these categories. So slowly you will get introduced to different uh, question categories. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to speak about today will be predict the output kind of a question, right? So what kind of questions they will ask in predict the output? In which programming language they'll ask the predict the output question? And if C is the programming language in which they will ask, what are all the concepts that you need to know in order to crack those predict the output question? Okay. So we will be speaking a lot about predict the output question this time, because mostly they will be asking predict the output question. So the first point here is, in predict the output question, they might target C programming language, Java, or it will be basic data structure. Okay, it will be very basic data structures. So you need not worry about the data structures part a little now. So we will be focusing more about the data structure part in the coming videos. Okay, so first we will focus on C programming and then Java. What kind of questions they will ask in C programming and then Java? So the topics that will be tested will be basically from array, pointers, data types, loops, and then operators. That's it. So if you are going to see this, it is all very basic when it comes to C programming or Java. So this is what they will be targeting in order to test few concepts in C programming. Okay. So in Java, they might ask you object and classes, and then all this except pointer, of course, because we don't have pointers in Java, right? So these are the topics will be tested in Java, and also basic OOPS concepts. So this is what they'll be asking. This is where they will be asking the questions from. Okay. So once we have fixed this, then let's understand how will they ask the questions and what will be they be testing you. Okay. What will they be testing you on those kind of questions? Okay. So let's get into the first question. So if you observe the first question, you can very well say that it is pointer based question. Okay. So even if you don't know basic of programming, that's okay, guys. You can still continue watching the video, because in this video, I'll be covering whatever the basic concept required for answering MCQ as well. Okay. So even if you don't know C programming language, that's perfectly fine for you to watch this video. But what I would request is, please do watch it till the end, because throughout this video, it will be like concept and then answering the question, right? So I'll be putting forth one question before you guys, and then we will cover the basic concept back end of that also. Okay. So I would request you guys to watch the video till the end, so that you are getting the idea of how to answer questions. So in C, we call this as preprocessor for including the header statement. So we will be speaking about this a little later, not now. So directly C function, any program, if you do, then it will directly call the main function. Okay. First function to get executed. that will be main function. Yeah, so quickly I'll answer Raghav's question. So Raghav, yes, you can use C++ when it comes to programming coding section, but not with programming logic, because programming logic will be based on MCQs. So in programming logic, they're going to basically target for the logic based question. Okay. So in whichever programming language you are aware of, you should be able to answer them, but predominantly it will be C based questions. When it comes to coding section, you are allowed to use 5 different languages. That is what official website of TCS says. So you can, I'll be sharing the TCS website official information, and then you can go and then check it out. So they will be most probably allowing you to use C, C++, Java, Python, and Perl. These are the 5 languages which you can use for answering coding section. Okay. So that means what? You can either code in C or C++ or Java or Python or Perl. So I hope that answers Raghav's question. Let's move on to the next one. So in C, there are few data types which we call it as primitive data type. And then the otherwise, we also have a way to create our own data types using structures and then union. So right now we'll be focused on only primitive data type. So basically C allows you to have char, which is for a single character, a data type for single character. Maybe you can store A, B, likewise till Z, or you can also store small a, small b till Z, or you can also store character 0, character 1, character 2, likewise. So basically whatever the characters that you have, you can store those characters in a data type called as char. Yeah, Vanaraj, how to prepare C language and from where? I wholeheartedly suggest you to watch this video till the end. And we will also be sharing a small booklet which has a lot of information about C and then TCS Ninja and NQT questions. So I'll be sharing that with you guys. You can just go and then see that. Okay. And then in C, you also have a data type called as int. So this is basically used for storing any integer like 1 till 100 or more than that. And all, but you cannot store 1.2 or 3.2 or whatever it is. Okay. We will not be able to store floating point in int. So for that, you have a data type called as float. Okay. So like these kind of data types you have. So here, if you observe, so what happens in this question is, so star P is actually saying star P, if they have used, then it means that they are using pointers. Okay. So that means what? So pointers are a variable which stores the address of another variable. Okay. Pointers are variable which stores the address of another variable. So basically it means when I is storing value 5, so I is storing value 5, let's assume the address of I is 1000. Okay. Let's assume the address of I is 1000. Now, the moment you create P, P is going to store the address of I. So address of I is 1000. So basically this is variable name. This is value. And this is address. Okay. And then probably P would have got address 2000. Now next thing that they are saying is star star PP is going to store address of P. So the moment you see star star, then it means pointer to a pointer. Okay, so that means what? So PP is going to store the address of P, and let's say the address of PP is 3000. Now from where am I writing this 1000, 2000 and 3000? These are all arbitrary value that I am taking. Okay, these are all just an assumption. It could be anything, it could be any address, but actually that doesn't matter here. Okay, so now the moment they speak about percentage D, it means that they are going to print a value which is an integer. Okay, so I would definitely print 5, no doubt about it. Printing I will print value 5. So in our output, we are going to have 5. And then the next one is printing star P. Remember guys, this means address of, and this operator means content of. Okay, as simple as that. So now ampersand means address of, that's why I'm storing address of I in P. Ampersand means address of, that's why I'm storing address of P in PP. Now content, star means content of. Now if you observe this, they are asking us to print the content of P. So actually what is I? I is 5. Now what is P? P is 1000. So what they are asking us to print is, the moment we speak about star P, they are asking us to print content of P, which is nothing but content of 1000, right? So what is content of 1000? Content of 1000 is 5. 1000 is here, and then content of 1000 means which is stored in 1000. Okay, the value which is stored in address 1000, that's what content of 1000 means. So the answer will be again 5. But if you see here, star star P, okay, star star P. Now what they are trying to say as is, the moment you say star star P, right, what it actually means, it means content of P. Now that will get translated to content of P is what we saw last time. So that is 5. So content of address 5. So we need to check where is address 5, and then we need to print the content of that. So actually speaking, that is not allowed, right? We will not be able to print the content of 5 because 5 is not even a valid address space. So this time, this star star P is going to create an error. Okay. So because we cannot print the content of P. So just in case, if they would have asked us to print content of PP, the answer would be 5 here. But since they have asked content of P, the answer, we will not be able to fetch the answer because it is speaking about content of 5. 5 is not even a valid address space for us. So it is going to create an error. Hope the first question is easier. And then these kind of questions you might get a lot. Okay, so I will just give you few other questions which you might possibly get in these kind of questions. Okay, in pointer based question. So those are all going to be very easy. Those are all going to be straightforward questions. Okay, so let's say for example I have value 5 in I, and then in pointer P is storing the address of I, and then now I want to change the value of I and then print the content of P. So again, what it means is, initially I'll be storing value I. Value of I will be 5 here. And again, in P, I'm going to store the address of I. Let's assume the address of I is 1000. So that will be stored in P. And here, the I itself will be changing to 10, right? That means the value of I is getting changed to 10. Now here, when I am printing the content of 1000, content of 1000 will be 10, right? Because we have already changed this. So the content of I will be 10 over here. So these kind of questions, please prepare for them so that it makes you to answer pointer based question. Okay. Now let's see the second category of question. So in this category of question, they're going to ask, again, it is predict the output of question, predict the output kind of a question. But here, what they are interested is the concept of loops. Okay. So they're going to ask you questions like how many times this loop will be running, how many times you're going to get the output, how many times it will print hello within a loop. So they're going to ask you questions like this. Now in this, a simple idea is you just have to understand how many times I runs. Okay. So initialization in for loop, let's say I have something like this. This will get executed one time. We call it as init. That is initialization. This will get executed one time. And condition will get executed for 0 lesser than 5, 1 lesser than 5, 2 lesser than 5, 3 lesser than 5, 4 lesser than 5, and then 5 lesser than 5. So all these things will be true, but this will be false. That means what? The condition, this is conditional statement. Condition will get executed 6 times. If you observe this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 times. And now increment will get executed for when I is equal to 0 to 1, when 1 to 2, when I is 2 to 3, when I is 3 to 4, when I is 4 to 5, right? That means increment is getting executed 5 times. Now, if you observe this clearly, here n is equal to 5, right? Now, let's assume that if n is 8 or if n is 10, now how do we get it? Initialization happens every time once. This is n plus 1 time and this is n times. So totally we would say 2n plus 2. Adding all, we will get 2n plus 2. So I can very well say that this for loop is actually executing for n times, right? This for loop is getting executed for n times. Now, you can just take a screenshot of it so that you are understanding how many times each and every part of a for loop is getting executed. Now, once this is done, we know that the outer loop is getting executed for n times, right? Outer loop is getting executed for n times. And now let's speak about the inner loop. So for the first time, when I is 0, okay, when I is 0, j starts from 0, right? J starts from 0 and then j is greater than or equal to 0. This is true. And then when I is 1, j starts from 1 and j lesser than or equal to 0. This is true. And then j minus minus, again it will run for j equals 0. Again this will be equal to true. So this is running 2 times. This is running 1 time. I'm speaking about the j loop. Okay. Now when I is 2, j will run for 2, j will run for 1, and then j will run for 0. So that means what? For the first time, j was running for 1 time, and then j is running for 2 times, and then again j is running for 3 times, j is going to run for 4 times, and then j will be running for 5 times. Right? So now if you observe this, at that time here, when j is running for 1 time, I value will be 0, here I value will be 1, here I value will be 2, here I value will be 3, here I value will be 4, and when I value becomes 5, this is going to come out of the entire for loop because 5 lesser than 5 is false. Yeah, Zoya, we will be speaking about post increment and pre increment definitely. Okay, just hold on. Question number 3 will be speaking about that. Okay, so I value will become 5 and then it will become false. So therefore, the number of times this loop is going to run, it will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. These many number of times my loop will be running. Okay, the inner loop will be running these many number of times. So which is, so in these kind of questions, what you need to understand is, for you, let's assume that if this 5 is 50, now they are going to ask you how many times the inner loop runs. Now you cannot keep calculating all the values of j. Our aim is to find a pattern. Once we find a pattern, we will be able to stimulate that pattern and then we will get it done. Okay, so that's the whole point here. So please prepare for these kind of questions. So after the end of the session, I'll also give you few more questions which you can practice. Okay. Okay. So let me ask this question. Guys, can you please tell me what will be the output of this code? What will be the output of this code? So this is based on arrays and this is also based on pre-increment and then post-increment. What do you think is the output of this code? Yeah, so the answer for the previous question is how many times the below loop will run? That answer is 15. For that, the answer is 15. How many times the below loop will run? For that, the answer is 15. Okay. Output of the question, output of the below code will be first time when j is 0, right? When I is 0, j runs only till 0, right? So for that, output will be 0. And next time output will be 1 and 0. Next time output will be 2, 1 and 0. Next time the output will be 3, 2, 1 and 0. Okay, and then it goes on and on. Okay, hope you understood this. So this is with respect to the output of the question, but they are not asking for the output. They are asking for how many times the below loop will run. So for that, the answer is 15. 15 times this j loop will run. Okay, so that is what they are asking. Okay, so let's quickly go to this question. Yeah, I have got one answer for this. So outer loop will be running for 5 times. So that is pretty straightforward question. The outer loop will be running for 5 times. So because I starts from 0 and then I goes till I lesser than 5, the condition goes till I lesser than 5. That means that outer loop will be running for 5 times. Okay, so let's understand this question's output. Okay. So here what they are asking us to do is, first thing that you need to understand, guys, is how array works. Okay, that is what you need to understand first. So A will have 5 different values, 5, 1, 15, 20 and 25. Okay, these are the values present in A. Now for those of you who are new to C or who are new to array index starts from 0. Okay, array index starts from 0. Okay, now the first thing that they are asking us to do is a very simple one. I is equal to a of 1 plus plus. Okay, so actually they are asking us to, they are evaluating us on post increment and pre increment in this question. Okay, this question tests the concept of post and pre increment. Okay, so let's understand how it works basically. A of 1 is actually 1, right? You can see A of 1 is 1, A of 0 is 5, A of 2 is 15, A of 3 is 20, A of 4 is 25. Okay, now what do we mean by post increment? So post increment, okay, post increment means you increment whatever the variable is, let's say A or B or whatever it is, after the current statement. After the current, okay. Pre is you increment it, you increment A at that moment. Okay. Now let's understand this statement. A I is equal to A of 1 plus plus. Now I value will be A of 1. A of 1 is actually 1 plus plus. Right? This is what they are saying. Now A of 1 will get incremented whenever we are speaking about A after this statement, okay, because that is post increment. So after the current statement only it will get incremented. Before that it will not get incremented. So that means what? I value will be 1. Here in this line I value will be 1, but whereas this value will get changed to 2 because we are adding A of 1, so it will get changed to 2, but at this time I value will be still 1. Now next question that they are asking us to do is J is equal to A of plus plus I, right? So I value now is actually 1, right? I value is now 1. Now what they are speaking about J is I plus plus. If it is I plus plus, this is going to give you 1. But since this is plus plus I, this is going to give you 2. So J value will be A of 2. So A of 2 is nothing but 15. Now the next question is, what is K then? K value, what they are asking us to do is plus plus A of I. Now this means what? This means you increment A of I and then immediately you give it to K. That means right now I value is 2. So that means K value will become 16 because A of I, A of I is, sorry, A of I is plus plus A of 2. A of 2 is nothing but 15. So in increment 15 and then store it in K. So that will be 16. So the answer for this one will be 2. I value is 2 and then J value is 15 and then K value is 16. So for those who have got it right, good. For others, please try to understand this. Plus plus happens afterwards if it is post. Plus plus happens pre if it is put before the variable. Okay, pre means at that moment itself you need to increment it. Okay, so that is what post increment and then pre increment means. Post increment happens after the current statement. Pre increment happens before or at that moment. Okay, so that is the difference. Now I'll ask you this question, then probably you will understand how post increment and then pre increment works. Okay, this is a very very simple question. So this will make you understand how post increment and then pre increment works. Okay, so let's try to answer this, guys. So give me the answer for the below code. What will be the answer for the below code? Okay, Akhil says hello to buy one. Okay, great. So I'll try to answer this. Okay, I'll get you the answer and then we will execute this and then check once how does it work. Okay. Simple guys, this is OR operator that we are using. Okay, I would just like to go and then remind you about the basics of OR. So this is going to be the A and then B. That means what? Two different inputs. You guys remember truth table here, that one. Okay, so this is 0 0 0 0 1 1 1 0 1 and then 1 1 1. Now, why is this important for us? This is important because you need to understand one basic thing about OR. If the first input is 0, okay, if the first input is 0, in other words, if the first input is false, I need to check the second input. Okay, if first input is false, please understand this. This is where most of the students have gone wrong in TCS Ninja. Okay, so if the first input is false, check the second. Okay, else if the first input is true, if the first input is true, you don't have to even check the second input. Directly you can mark the output as true, right? So mark the output as true. Guys, this is very basic. Stick on to this. They might ask you a lot of questions based on this. Okay, so AND operator or operator, they might ask you a lot of questions just based on this one. So please make sure that you are understanding this question very clearly. Okay, so if any doubt is there, if you have any questions, please post it on the comment. I'm reading all the comments. Okay, and I would like to answer each and every one of your comments. Okay, now that being said, now let's quickly look at this question. Okay, so this question says a plus plus, if you observe this one, if a plus plus or a plus plus. Okay, and now here the value of a is 0. Now if the value of a is 0, a plus plus would result in actually a value being 1. But in this moment, at this particular moment, a plus plus would get evaluated to 0, right? A plus plus would get evaluated to 0. Now, if the next statement, if it is false, okay, in C, 0 is false. This is specifically in C, okay. All the other non-zero values are evaluated to true. All the other non-zero values are evaluated to true, okay. Now that means what? A plus plus here will actually be 1 plus plus. So 1 plus plus will be 1 here, but a value will become 2 because it is going to increment it. So that means 1 here is the 1 and then here is it is 0. That means what? We are evaluating if 0 or 1. Now 0 stands for false, 1 stands for true in C because 0 is a zero valued integer that becomes false. 1 is a non-zero integer that becomes true. So false or true would get evaluated to true. That means this statement is true now. Now, once this statement is true, definitely for sure, I'm going to execute this. So the answer for this will be hello, percentage D comma A is 2. So the answer for this will be hello and 2. Again, I'll repeat it. So at this moment, I'll erase this and again I'll repeat this one. Okay. So at this moment, if A is 0, simple it is, A is 0 initially. Now A plus plus will get evaluated to 0, but A value will be 1 because it is post increment, right? And then you have an OR operator. So if this is false, if the first input is false in OR operator, please check the second. That is what our rule book says, right? If the first operator is, if the first operand is false, then you need to check the second operand. Now second operand is again a plus plus. Already the value of a is 1. Now a plus plus would get evaluated to 1, but a will have value 2. Now why a value will have 2? Because it is plus plus. So that means 1 or 0, that will get evaluated to true. So once this is true, obviously I'm going to execute this statement, but in this statement a value will be printed as 2 and then not 1. I'll give you a few more questions in this way so that we are all understanding how this works, because these kind of questions I have seen it a lot of times in TCS Ninja. Okay, so for example, if a is 0, if a is 0 and if plus plus a or a plus plus, print percentage d means print hello also, please print hello and then percentage d comma a, else printf by percentage d comma a. Guys, please understand, post increment is not a equal to a plus 1. Okay, so people would have understood a plus plus as a equals a plus 1. Okay, and then plus plus a, you would have understood this as well as a plus 1. Okay, this is quite wrong. This is not how it works. Okay, please understand that. So how it happens is plus plus a is pre-increment. That means what? At the very moment it will get evaluated to plus plus, but post increment means after that statement a's value will become incremented, but at that time it will become 1. It will be 1. Got it? So please understand that and then answer. Okay, so I'm going to quickly execute this and then explain you, because see guys, very simple again. So please understand this one. Okay, so what they are speaking about is, see, this is a is equal to 0 if plus plus a or a plus plus. That's what they have asked. Okay, now you guys have understood now what is pre-increment, right? Pre-increment is you need to increment a at that moment itself. That means what? A is 0. Now if you increment a by 1, it will become 1 at that moment itself. In this moment itself it will become plus plus a. Okay, now this means what? 1 or a plus plus. Now you guys understood how OR operator works, right? If the first input, this is getting evaluated to true in C. So if the first input is true, please do not execute the second operand at all. Please do not execute a plus plus again, because if the first input itself is true, why do you have to evaluate the second input? That is not required for OR operator, right? So the first input itself is true. If the first input itself is true, you don't have to evaluate the second input. If you are not doing it, then the value of a will still be 1. Okay, the value of a would still be 1. So this if condition will get evaluated to true. So if it is getting evaluated to true, obviously you're going to get the output as hello. At the same time, value of a will be 1 and not 2. Okay, so the answer for this will be hello 1 and not hello 2. Why? Because this is not even getting executed. This a plus plus is not even getting executed. Only plus plus a is getting executed, because plus plus a gives me 1, which is evaluated to true in C. Okay, So at the same time, let me change this question a little bit and then try figuring out the answer. Guys, can you please now tell me what will be the output of my question? My question is on the left side. So please take a look at the question and then answer. I have changed OR operator to AND operator. Please note down this, guys. This is OR operator. Two pipe symbol is OR operator. Two ampersand symbol is AND operator. Okay, this AND operator is different from ampersand I. Okay, ampersand I is address of I. That is what we saw in question number 1. Okay, so please remember this. Double AND is ampersand. One single AND is ampersand I, address of I. Now this one is double AND is AND operator. Okay, double ampersand is AND operator. Now remember the truth table of AND, guys. So I would like to tell you, if the first input is 0, if first input is 0, what it means? AND means what? Both should be 1. Only then the output will be 1. If any one of it is 0, then you will not get the true. It will be false, right? If the first input is 0, then the output is 0. That means what? You need not even evaluate the second one. Okay. Else, if first input is 1, that means if first input is true, evaluate the second one. Okay, so please understand this and then answer. So here, if you see, so here if you observe this, then it means what? They are asking us to evaluate plus plus a, right? Initially we need to evaluate plus plus a. So a is 0. When a is 0, plus plus a, evaluation will give me 1. Okay, if a is 0, a plus plus at this time would give me 0, and after that it will become 1. But plus plus a will directly give me 1. And again what they are asking us to do is a plus plus. So that means what? At this time a's value is 1, because already I have incremented a. When I am evaluating the second a plus plus, already the value of a is 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. But at this time, since it is a plus plus, it would result in 1, and then a will become 2. Okay, I'll give you one more simple tip, guys, in order to understand this. So let me finish this question. So 1 and 1 is actually true, right? That is true and true. So if it is true and true, then you will get answer as hello and then 2. Okay, so I'm going to quickly put one more easier way to understand this. Now here is where I'm going to store the value of a every time. Okay, a is 0. The moment you encounter plus plus a, I'll tell you what you have to do. What you have to do is, you need to take a, add 1 to it, and then put it as the output, and then increment a as well. Okay, this is what you need to do. I'll again tell you, if you get a plus plus, first step is take a, add 1, put it in the output, and then change a. Okay, now the moment you get a plus plus, what you need to do is take a, add 1, change a, but here you need to, that is, this becomes the second one, put it in the output, and then add 1, change a. Okay, so this is where the difference comes from. Okay, let's assume when a is 0, how plus plus a works. plus plus A works like you take the A and add 1 to it and put it in the output, so that output becomes 1, and then change A. So that becomes 1. Right? Now, A plus plus works like you take A, put it in the output, output will be 0, and then add 1 and then change A. So still the output will be 0. Okay, output will still be 0. The evaluation will still be 0, but A would have got changed to 1. So this is why they call it as post increment. You put it in the output and then add 1. In pre-increment, you add 1 and then put it in the output. That is why they call it as pre-increment. They call A plus plus as post-increment. Okay. Now, once we understood this, there are few questions that I need to answer here. So, if it is 1 and 2, will the answer be true? Yes, it will be true. The reason is, you guys remember, 0 is evaluated to false. All other non-zero elements are evaluated to true. For example, what if this is 1 and this is minus 1? It will still be true. Okay, because since minus 1 is a non-zero integer, still it will be true. Okay, so all the non-zero elements will be true. Okay, now I'm going to quickly change this and then again show you how this works. So I'm going to use an online compiler in order to execute the code and then show you how this works. Okay, and why is the output like this. So this is my code, and what I'm seeing in the code is initially A value is 0. Initially A value is 0, and then if A plus plus and A plus plus is the question, right? Now you guys remember, if you see plus plus, you take A and put it in the output. So this will be evaluated to 0, and then add 1 and change A. So A will become 1. Okay. And what about the second expression? I don't have to evaluate the second expression, since AND operator says that if the first input is 0, please do not execute the second one. Please do not execute the second one. You guys remember that? If the AND operator first input is 0, please do not execute the second operand. That means what? This will be evaluated to false. Now, if this is false, I will definitely not get hello. I'm going to get the output as bye. But what will be the value of A? Value of A is 1. Yeah, understood this, guys? So please make sure that you are able to answer these kind of questions. So now these kind of questions will help you to figure out what they are actually testing you with. Okay, so these kind of questions, they'll be testing you with pre-order and pre-increment and then post-increment. Please do consider this. Do not miss this question. Okay, this is quite simple if you understand those 4 points. Okay, so please remember those 4 points. If it is pre-increment, if you are able to see pre-increment, then what you need to do? First step, take A. Second step, add 1. Third step, put it in the output. Fourth step, change A. Whereas in post increment, what you are supposed to do? You take A, put it in the output. Third step, you add 1. And then fourth step, you change A. Okay. So you can take a screenshot of it. Okay. So that will help you a lot. Okay, so let's concentrate on the next category of questions. Okay, so there are few more programming logic based questions which we will address a little later. Okay, so let's figure out how do we answer coding question. Okay, what kind of questions they will ask in coding, right? So the first category of coding question will be like series based or number series based, right? You would have seen this number series based. Now I'll project this a little with zoom. Now there are two different given series. Let's try to code only for the first series right now. Okay, so we'll figure out the first series question, and then we will understand how do we code for the second one. Okay, first is the first one. Any language is okay. So C or C++ or Java or Python or Perl, any language is okay. Okay, so for coding question, any language is fine. All out of this 5 language, anything is fine. Yeah, so the first one is 1 3 5 7 9. Okay, this is what the first question says, 1 3 5 7 9. And then the second elements, that is the even elements, are the multiple of the first one. Okay, multiple of the previous number. So I'll copy this and then I'll check what it actually speaks, what they actually have to say here. Now if you observe this, all the odd numbers, all the odd elements, right? So all the odd elements are 1 3 5 7 9, and it goes on, right? Now all the even elements are previous element into 2, right? You can observe that previous element into 2. That is what the first series says, right? So now if this is the case, how do we code for this? The user is going to give n. Okay, the user is going to give n. So I'll be coding in C. You can also code in Java or any other language. That doesn't matter as long as your logic is right. Okay, now quickly moving forward, what they have asked us to do is, initially we need to get nth element from the user. Okay, if you understand the question, observe the below series and then write program to print nth element in the given series. Okay, nth element. So the user will be asking nth element, and then you need to print what is the nth element in the given series. That is what we are supposed to do. So initially I'm going to get the value from the user. So how do we get value from the user in C program? We use a statement called as scanf, and then store it in the value of n. Okay, store the value in the address of n. So once this is done, next step is, guys, one more very important thing that you need to focus on coding question is, please do not print anything extra from what is being asked. Okay, for example, in college we used to code like this, right? Enter the value of n. So please do not do these kind of things. Whatever is being asked, just do that. Okay, so they would have not asked you. They will give you the format of input, and then they will also give you the format of output. So please stick on to that. Please do not print anything extra, not even one space to be printed extra. Okay, if you print a space, anything extra, you will not get the marks. Okay, directly it will fail. Directly it will fail the execution. Okay, so now let's go back and understand what they want from us here, right? If it is odd element, that means what? If n is odd, okay, if they are going to ask the first element, that means if they are going to ask the first element, let's say if n is 1, the element is 1, right? This is the first element, right? The element is also 1. So that means what? Output is also 1. Now if n is 3, I'm working only if n is odd. Okay, if n is 3, output is also 3, right? Output is also 3. Now if n is 5, output is also 5. And now if n is 7, output is also 7. So as simple as that. Then it means what? If n is odd, output will also be odd. Output will also be same. That's it. Very simple. Okay. So if n is odd, then the output is, let's say if I'm going to ask you fifth element, the output will be 5. That's it, right? This is the fifth element, right? As simple as that. So if n is odd, the output is odd itself, right? So how I'm going to check that? If n modulo 2, modulo gives you a reminder. If n modulo 2 is equal to 1, that means I'm asking you to enter the odd number, right? I'm asking you to print the odd number. So how do you print the odd number? So it is simple. If n is odd, the output is also odd. Output is also n, right? You directly print n. So the Python version will be Python 2.7. Okay, they will be giving you Python 2.7. You can use that version. Basically, they will be asking you to use Python 2.7. The reason is Python 3 syntax and then Python 2.7 syntax is little different. Even in the TCS Digital that has happened yesterday, they have asked them to use Python 2.7. They have not included Python 3. Okay, so please be aware of it. So they have not asked the students to code in Python 3 because they have not given Python 3 as an option yesterday's TCS Digital. Okay, so please be aware of it. So the next thing is, what if n is even, right? What if n is even? So then it means what? I have to take the previous element and I have to multiply it by 2. I have to take the previous element and I have to multiply it by 2. So that means what? So if n is 4, or let's say if n is 2, I need to print 2, right? The output is 2. If n is 4, the output is 6. Now if n is 5, sorry, n is 6, then the output is 10. Now how do we go about this? We go about this, let's say if n is even, then the output is n minus 1 into 2, right? You go to the previous element is n minus 1, and then you do into 2. That's it, right? So you do else printf n minus 1 whole into 2, or you can also put 2 into n minus 2. Anything is fine. Now if you run the code, then you get third element is 3, right? You have to pass the input over here. I typed the input is n, and then I got the output 3. Now if you run again the code, then this time I'm going to ask for the sixth element is 10. You can go back and check first element, second element, third element, fourth element, fifth element, and then the sixth element is 10, right? So you get the proper output over here. Yeah, correct. So for the user, n starts from 1, right? So user doesn't know the array starts from 0, array starts from -1 and all. User will not be knowing, right? Array index starts from 0. That is for the programmers. User might not know that. So user will give the first one. So you will not be asked with file operations for coding sections. You will be just tested with logical concepts, okay? Like for loop, or probably recursions, functions. So these are the kind of arrays, string. These are the kind of questions that will be asked in coding section. Okay, nothing apart from that. Okay, so the second one is, so the second series that we have over here is, these are all series based question, guys. Okay, so the second one that we have over here is, again, two different series are there. So if you observe, if n is odd, okay, if n is odd, look over here. If n is 1, the output is 1. If n is 3, the output is 2. If n is 5, the output is 4. If n is 7, the output is, output is 3 over here, and then output is 4 over here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it is linearly increasing, right? If it is linearly increasing, Correct. Yeah, 2n minus 2 could also be the logic. No problem at all. You will not be asked the question to print all the series. The reason is they are going to, they see this series is actually infinite series, right? Both of the series are infinite series. Now, how will they ask you to print an infinite series, right? That they will not ask. Probably they might ask print n elements. Now, if you have to print n elements, then you can do it by using a for loop. Okay. You can do it by using a for loop that we will see. Now, for the even elements, you need to identify the previous element and then you need to multiply it by the same element, right? For example, the previous element is 1 here. 1 into 1 is 1. Let's say 2. 2 into 2 is 4. Let's say 3. 3 into 3 is 9. Let's say 4. 4 into 4 is 16. So the square of the previous element, right? Previous element into previous element itself, right? So the answer for this one, the fourth one, is 4. And here the answer is 3 into 3 is 9. Now the challenge over here is, how do we get this one? Okay, how do we get this one? Any idea, guys? So we are going to do plus 1 by 2. Okay, just think about it. N plus 1 is 8. 8 by 2 is 4. Proper. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 by 2 is 3. Proper. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 by 2 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 by 2 is 1. So this is perfectly fine. So what do we need to do here is, you just have to change. If n is odd, then it is n plus 1 by 2 for getting the second series. Okay. And if n is even, then what do? Then you take the previous element. Previous element, you can get it by using this and then into the same element, right? You take the previous element, and multiply it by using the same element. This is the previous element and you take that and then you multiply it again. So you run the code, then you get the output for two different one. Yeah, n by 2 into power will also work in this case, because if you actually observe what we are actually doing here, if you do a little bit of math, then you are going to get a different formula. Okay, it doesn't matter what formula we are using. What matters is, are we getting the logic right? That's it. Okay, you can also rewrite the same thing in different ways, right? You can rewrite this in a different way. That is also fine. No issues at all. Okay, as long as we are getting the output, that's perfectly fine with us. Okay, so you can also do n by 2 whole square. Perfectly fine, Akhil. No issues at all. You can definitely do it. Okay. Now this is how the series question will work. Okay. This is also very important thing that we need to understand. Now, so there are few other series which I will be telling you again at the end of the video. I'll be giving one downloadable file which will give you how do we answer more number of series kind of question. Okay, in the description we will update the link so that you can download the material and you can study. Okay, now the next type of coding question will be series kind of a question. Okay, in which they ask you to print the series. Now these series question can be very, very simple and it can also be dangerously tough. Okay, so both can happen in this series question. So we cannot evaluate whether the question is very simple or not just by looking at the category, but sometimes it will be very, very difficult. Sometimes it will be very, very easy for us to crack this kind of questions. Okay, so I will try solving two different things. One is very easy pattern question and then the other one is very, very tough pattern question. Again, I would like to tell you guys here, one way to look at these kind of problem is, you have thousands of ways to solve these kind of problems. Okay, you have thousands of ways, but here what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make it easy for you guys in order to crack these kind of questions. Okay, that's what I'm going to do here. So if you get a question like this, immediately what you need to do is, so this is one way of approaching this. You have other ways also in order to approach these kind of questions, but yeah, I'm going to stick on to one way, and then I'm going to tell you how do we answer these kind of questions. Okay. So here I'm going to put the I value, and then here I'm going to put the number of stars required for that particular I, and then I'm also going to put the number of spaces required for that particular I, and then I'm going to put what is the value of n. Now, if you guys observe in this particular pattern, what they are asking us to do is, for the first line, we need to print 2 spaces. For the second line, we need to print 1 space. And for the third line, there is no space, right? So that is why what I have done is, I have taken one table which speaks about which row I'm going to print, how many stars I'm going to print in that row, how many spaces I'm going to print in that row, and then what is the value of n. Actually, value of n will be constant, right? Value of n is 3 all the time, right? That means 3 different rows I'm going to print. And for the first time, I value will be 0. Second time, I value will be 1. Third time, I value will be 2, right? So a quick question. How many stars I have to print in the first row? In the first row, I have to print 1 star. In the second row, I need to print 2 stars. And in the third row, I need to print 3 stars. Okay. Now, how many spaces I have to print in first row? I need to print 2 spaces. You guys remember, I have told you that I have to print 2 spaces here, right? See, you can see that it is 2 different spaces. I need to print 2 spaces over here, right? So that's why I've written I need to print 2 space. Here I need to print 1 space, and here I need to print 0 space. Okay. So you might have other ways to do this logic, but if you follow this particular logic, you can solve any different pattern problems. Okay. Any different pattern problems, it will be the same logic. Okay. You just need to find out the formula. So I will be making this code downloadable. Again, you can download the zip folder, and then there you will be able to find the logic for this. And that one will have a predefined format for answering the pattern question. Okay. The code will remain the same. Only thing is you need to change the formula, right? So here, the thing is, for stars, how many stars I need to print in every row? That is very simple question. I need to print I plus 1. I need to print I plus 1 stars. Okay. And now spaces, I need to print how many spaces? If you observe this clearly, stars is increasing. That means star is directly proportional to I. But whereas spaces is decreasing. When I say spaces is decreasing, then it means what? Spaces are indirectly proportional to I. That means what? I need to use some other thing in the formula for detecting the number of spaces, not just I. Okay. So I can do it by using n minus I minus 1, or otherwise I can also rewrite this as n minus stars. You guys remember this? This is what star is. Now, if you make in place of stars, if you put I plus 1, right? I plus 1, you're going to get the same thing, n minus I minus 1. That's what you're going to get, right? It's the same thing. So now, how do we solve this code? I'm going to write one single code which will be used by which can be used for multiple pattern problems. Okay. This can be written in C, or this can be written in Java, or this can be written in Python. Anything, that doesn't matter. So quickly, I'm going to get the value of n from the user. You guys remember here, value of n will be given at the runtime by the user. Okay. So first thing is scanf. I need to get the value from the user, and I will be storing it in the address of n. So once this is done, how many rows I need? Now, if you guys see here, the I value varies from, I runs from 0 to 2. That means what? I starts from 0, and then I runs to n minus 1, right? Or otherwise, I can also say I is lesser than n. Okay, so I'm going to write a for loop in which I runs from 0 to n. So I runs from 0 and then I runs till n. That is first thing. And second thing is, in every row, okay, please understand this, guys. In every row, how many stars I need, I will be able to use this formula and get the number of stars. And how many spaces I need, I will be able to use this formula and get the spaces. But here the thing is, which one would you like to print first in each and every row? In every row, if you observe, spaces are the one to get printed first, right? Spaces are the one which will get printed first. That means what? First, I need to print spaces. Then after which I need to print the stars. So I'm going to write a formula in order to print spaces. Now, if you guys remember, the spaces formula is n minus I minus 1. Okay, n minus I minus 1. And then if you guys remember the stars formula, it is I plus 1. Now, once this is done, you write a for loop in which you are using j and not I, because already I we have used. And then first our aim is to print these spaces. So you need to run j from 0 to spaces. Once you run j from 0 to spaces, you can print these spaces inside this for loop. Don't worry, guys, this code will be available after the end of the video. Okay, this code you can download and keep it. Now, at the same time, after printing spaces, I will be printing stars, for which I'm using j lesser than stars, and then I'm printing the star. So this loop is for printing. This is for printing spaces number of space. Okay, and this is for printing stars number of star. Okay, once this is done, I have completed row number 1. Once I am completing row number 1, all I need to do is do a new line. Now, once I complete this, let's run this code and then check. Guys, one important thing, whenever you write code, so there are 2 ints in main. You run the code and then enter the value of n, and then you get the output over here. Now you run the same code for 4, you should be getting the same pattern for 4 here. Now this being given, now the next question is, so I hope this you guys understood. We are going to do the same thing for this code as well. So don't worry. Okay. So again, I'm going to be speaking about I, stars, spaces, and then n. Okay. So guys, if you observe this particular code, yeah, again, I'll come back. Again, I'll explain to you. You don't worry. So again, if you observe this, already we have printed this entire stuff, right? Already we have printed the first part of this particular pattern. Now, the whole idea is, can we leverage that? Can we make use of the same logic? Okay. The answer is yes, you can make use of the same logic, but let's do it again just for your practice. When I is 0, star is 1, spaces are 2, n is still 3. When I is 1, star is 2, spaces is 1, and then n is still 3. Now when I is 2, number of stars to be printed are 3, and then spaces is 0, and then still n value is 3. Now, what will be the spaces formula? Spaces formula is n minus I minus 1. Now, if you observe this, right? If you guys observe this, n minus I is 3, minus 1 is 2. Got it? N minus I, in this case, n minus I is 2, minus 1 is 1. In this case, n minus 2, that is 3 minus 2 is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. So that's how we got the number of space. At the same time, what is the number of stars? Number of star is I plus 1. Now this will answer the first 3 lines of our code. Okay. Now let's understand. So first 3 lines of code is done. So I would like just like to tell, first 3 lines of code is done. Now let's understand how do we code for this. Okay, how do we code for the second block? So for the second block as well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly write one more table which will answer for my second block of code. Okay. So for the second block of code also it is same. First I need spaces. Sorry, first I'll create a table which will answer for spaces and then stars. So here again, what I'm going to do is, here I will say I is 0. Here I will say I is 1. Here I will say I is 2. And then let's figure out how do we combine these two logics. How do we combine these two tables? Okay, in the later part of time. So here what I'm going to do is I is 0. Number of stars required is 3. Number of space required is 0. And then n is still 3. Now I value is 1. Number of star required is 2. Number of spaces required is 1. And then n is still 3. I is 2. Number of stars required is 1. Number of spaces required is 2. And then n is still 3. Okay. Now, what this means is, what will be the formula then for number of stars? Now, if you observe this, number of stars is getting reduced. That means what? It is indirectly proportional to I. And number of spaces is getting increased. That means what? Number of spaces is directly proportional to I. So I can say number of spaces is just I, right? If you observe this, when I is 0, 0 space. When I is 1, 1 space. When I is 2, 2 spaces, right? So that means number of spaces formula is just I. And in this level, number of stars, could it be like n minus I? Because 3 minus 0 is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. So that means what? Number of star is n minus I. As simple as that. Okay. Now guys, look at the thing that I'm going to do here. Okay. Please observe that carefully. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take stars formula and then I'm going to take my code that I have written for printing the number of stars and then spaces. Okay. This is what it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this formula for stars and I'm going to change the formula for spaces. Spaces is I. Okay. Now let's copy the code and try running and checking what is the output we are getting. So I'll run the code and this time I'll give the input as 3. And yeah, I've got this. Now that means what? All I have to do is, whenever I get a pattern question, all I have to do is create this table and figure out the formula and change the formula in the code that we will be discussing. We have discussed now, right? So just change the formula in the code and then run the code. It'll give you the proper output. But here the problem is they have asked us to get this pattern not separately but joined. Okay, we don't have to give this code separately. We have to give this code in a joined way. That means what? All we have to do is whatever the code that we have written for the first one, we need to just add that to the second one. That's all we need to do. Okay. Look at what I'm going to do now. I'm going to copy the whole for loop and I'm going to recreate the first pattern, that is the first 3 lines. Okay. And this for loop for first 3 lines. Okay. And then the next for loop, that is the same code that I have copy pasted, that is for the second 3 lines. Okay. But guys, remember, please change the formula. Okay. Formula is very, very important here. For the first 3 lines, the formula is n minus I minus 1 for spaces, n minus I minus 1 for spaces, and stars formula is I plus 1. Stars formula is I plus 1. This is for first 3 line, and for second 3 lines, that is the output. Okay, that is the formula. Yeah. We will address that. We will address that, Akhil. You don't have to worry about it. We will address that. Okay. So I have copy pasted the question and I have run the code and I'm going to give 3. And then this is what happens. Now, if you observe the pattern that we have got printed, we have printed the first 3 lines and we have also printed the last 3 lines. But the problem is they have asked us only to print one time these 3 lines, right? So that means what? If you go back quickly here and then check it out, you know what? We have already printed 3 stars here. Okay, this is our table, right? So they asked only to print one time 3 stars. So the problem that we are facing now is we have 3 stars here, and then we have also have 3 stars here. That means what? We need to avoid any one. Okay, we are going to avoid any one. So how do we avoid any one? So probably in the first loop that we have, we can avoid 2, or in the second loop we can avoid 0. So I'm going to follow the second one. I'm going to avoid this 0. That means what? I need to start I from 1. If I start I from 1, then I'm going to get only one time. So if you run the code by saving it, then yes, so you have got the required pattern. Okay, so all that matters here is, are we able to create a formula or not? Okay, are we able to come up with a formula or not? Once that is done, it will all be very, very easy for us to write the code. Code is not a big deal. Okay, only the formula, only the pattern logic, that is only the big deal. Okay, so the last time what they have asked is a little different one. So they have asked us to print a pyramid pattern. Okay, you guys can tell me the formula. I'm not going to code it because it will be available. The code will be available with you guys. You can try it out. All I want is, can you guys give me a pattern to print a pyramid? Okay, so this has to be printed when n is 5. Okay, you guys can just give me the formula for spaces and stars. What will be the formula for spaces and what will be the formula for stars? Once you get it, all you have to do is just change the formula and then run the code. You are going to get the same output. So guys, remember, I starts from 0. I starts from 0. Akhil, can you rework on the stars? I starts from 0 is what I have told, right? Because that's what we did last time. So all I have to do is print I, print stars, print spaces, and then what's n. And then I starts from 0. I need 1 star. When I is 1, I need 3 stars. When I is 2, I need 5 stars. Then when I is 3, I need 7 stars. Am I right? Yeah, 7 stars. And then when I is 4, I need 9 stars. Okay, so Akhil is telling 2i plus 1 minus 1. Actually, that is, yeah, 2i plus 1, right? Because if you do 2i plus 2 minus 1, then it becomes 2i plus 1. So number of spaces here I have to print is, hold on guys. So here I have to print 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to print 4 spaces here. Here I need to print 3. Here I need to print 2. Here I need to print 1. And then here I have to print 0. Okay. And then the n is 5. Right. Now, how do we get the value of stars and spaces? Very simple. So number of stars that I have to print is 2i plus 1. Number of spaces that I need to print is n minus I minus 1. So if you do n minus I, n is 5, 5 minus 0 is 5, minus 1 is 4. So here 5 minus 3, sorry, 5 minus 1 is 4, 4 minus 1 is 3. 5 minus 2 is 3, 3 minus 1 is 2. Right? As simple as that. Now, all you have to do is, once you have figured this out, all you have to do is go back to your code. And then this time we don't need two different 3 lines, right? We have only one. All you have to do is just go and then change it as n minus I minus 1. Here it is 2 into I plus 1. Okay. All you have to do is just this. Once you have completed this, you run the code and you're going to get the pyramid. Okay. As simple as that. So I will make this code available online. You can go and then download it. You will be able to easily understand that. Okay. So the next question, let's move on to the next question. So see guys, sometimes what might happen is they might ask you to solve an advanced programming question as a bonus. Okay. So if you observe in the programming logic, okay, what they would do is in the programming logic, so there will be like, let's say 10 questions, 10 MCQs. Okay. In those 10 MCQs, 7 will be of easy medium category and 3 will be of medium hard category. Now, these 3 medium hard category might be asked from data structures. Most probably they will be targeting array, linked list, tree, stack, and queue. So this will be very, very rare. This will be rare occasion. So most probably they will be targeting array, linked list, stack, and queue will be asked in medium or hard question. Okay. So this way, what they have done is they will be able to find out if a person is really good enough. Then if he is doing very, very well in TCS Ninja, then that candidate might also get an opportunity to attend TCS Digital kind of an interview. Okay. So that is what they have told. So that means what? So sometimes the coding question can also be little advanced. Okay. So I would just like to tell one question which they have asked last time like that. Okay. That is, so there is one. Okay. So there is one particular question where they speak about the matrix. Okay. So this is the matrix that we have. So what we are supposed to do is we need to calculate the sum of 2 different diagonals. Okay. The sum of 2 different diagonals. Now the first line input will be number of rows in the matrix. They have given that it is square matrix. Okay. So they have given that it is a square matrix and number of rows is given as the first line input. Now the second line input is comma separated integers of the matrix itself. Now, if you observe the question, what they are asking us to find is, let's say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, this is my matrix. So what they are asking us to find out is diagonal 1. Okay, so for diagonal 1, the sum of diagonal 1 is 1 plus 5 plus 9 is 15. This is sum of diagonal 1. Now sum of diagonal 2 is 3 plus 5 plus 7. This is sum of diagonal 2. Now what they are asking us to do is, yes, I will provide data structures, Karthik. Don't worry about it. That's what I was telling from the beginning. Okay, you don't have to worry. I'll give you the data structures part. Okay, so what they're asking us to find out is sum of diagonal 1 and sum of diagonal 2. That is what they are asking us to find. But if you observe the pattern, first what they're asking us to do is, first you need to create a matrix and then work on the indexes of the matrix. That becomes very, very tough for us. Okay, that becomes very difficult for a person who is not aware of multidimensional array, right? So for that, what I have is a very simple solution. So if you just go for 1, 2, so let me put it as an array. Okay, so let us consider this as an array. Now if you consider this as an array, these are the elements. Okay, and then these are the indexes. Okay, now if you observe this carefully, for calculating the first sum, that is the first diagonal sum, what I'm doing is I'm adding the 0th element. If you observe from here, I'm adding the 0th element. So 0th element plus, this is for the first diagonal sum of d1. Okay, 0th element plus 4th element plus 8th element, right? And then sum of diagonal 2, what I'm adding is I'm starting from 3. That is, I am starting from 4th element. I am adding 5 then, right? That is nothing but, sorry, I am starting from second element, right? I'm starting from second element and then I'm adding 5. That means I'm checking for the 4th element, and next one is I'm adding 7. That means I'm taking the 6th element. Okay, here you need to understand that n is 3. Now, is there any pattern in which that we can solve this question is what I'm looking at. Okay, so let's quickly go back and then understand for n is equal to 2, what will be the case. Okay, now let's say if I am not having these elements and it is 2 cross 2 matrix. I hope we know what is 2 cross 2 matrix, right? So here if n is 2, right? So and then 1, 2, 4 and then 5. So here we will be adding 0th element. So I'm speaking about the sum of diagonal 1. This is for n is equal to 2, right? I'll be first adding the 0th element, that is 1, and I will be adding the second element, right? That is 4. 1 plus 5, right? Third element. 1 plus 5, that is third element. 1 plus 5. That is my first diagonal. Second diagonal is 2 plus 4. That means I'll be adding sum of diagonal 2 will be adding the first element and then the second element. Yeah, we can do two-dimensional matrix. That's okay. But this is more like an easiest of everything now, right? So instead of creating a two-dimensional matrix and then doing it, now I'll tell you what is the advantage that you will get in if you just do it with one single dimensional array. So you will be able to cut short on the cost. That is where you can crack advanced question. The reason is TCS Ninja has 30 test cases. Okay, approximately 30 test cases for each and every question. Now that means what? You need to crack all those 30 test cases. Probably one of the test case might have 200 into 200 array, right? So instead of creating 200 into 200 multidimensional array, so what you can do is you can just create one simple array which is of 400 size. Now, in what way it is going to help us? It is going to help us because C or Java or whatever it is going to understand the multidimensional array as row first order. If it is row first order, and then if you are doing index calculation, it will be too tough. Okay, so that is why we say multidimensional matrices will take a lot of time than than accessing a single dimensional matrix. Okay, because single dimensional matrix are much more faster, and if you can use pointer concept, it will be very efficient. Okay, instead of going for multidimensional array. So that's the whole point of it. So if you do it this way, then you can easily write one for loop, and then you can easily jump 4 times. So if you see here, when you access this 0th element, and then directly you can go 4th in index. That means what? N plus 1. The jump is happening n plus 1. So inside a for loop, you just have to write I is equal to I plus n plus 1. So here what you have to do is I is equal to I plus n minus 1. That's it. A very simple rule. So this will be helping you to do this. Correct. We can also create an index resolver like convert I comma j. That will require function calls. Okay. So if you do a function call, then we know there will be an so you will have to provide a stack to it, and then you need to create all the local variables and then push them. So that requires a lot of computation on the stack as well. Okay, so that is why I am suggesting you to go for a single dimensional array without even using any function, just by using functions, just by using for loops. So if you observe this, it is simple, Karthik. What we are actually trying to do is we are accessing the 0th index, 4th index, and 8th index if it is a single dimensional array. Okay, if it is a single dimensional array, we are accessing 0th index, 4th index, and 8th index in order to compute the sum of diagonal 1. And sum of diagonal 2, we are trying to access 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, like that. Okay, so that requires I is equal to I plus n minus 1. If n is 3, then it is I is equal to I plus 2, right? Every second index we are jumping. So here it is n is equal to n plus I is equal to I plus n plus 1. So that means every 3 I will be jumping. Okay, as simple as that. Now once we have this kind of a thing, what we need to do is a very simple logic. So the first diagonal is easy, I we can do it, but for the second diagonal it will be tough. So I of n minus I. So that is what we need to do for the second index in order to calculate the second diagonal. But what I am telling is, if you do it in a single dimensional array, it will be much more efficient because it doesn't require a function call. This doesn't require a multi-dimensional row first kind of index space. Okay, that is going to see. For example, if I have to give you an example, guys, it is a simple one. So let's say there is an array. Let's say there is an array like this. This is the index space. Okay, and this is what is the value. Let's say there are some values in it. Okay, now how a of 2 is getting computed is because, see, array stores only the starting address. Starting address could be 1000, 1002, 1004, 1006, 1008, like that, right? Now how array of 2 is getting computed is starting address plus 2 into size of integer. So size of integer could be 2 here in our case. So 2 into 2. This is 1004. So every time you specify an index, this much of calculation is happening in C. Okay. And on top of it, if you are going to put 2 indexes like this, if you're going to do 2 indexes like this, then first it has to identify what is this index, and then second it has to identify what is this index. So this could make this process a little slower. Okay, so for that reason I'm going to use one single dimensional array, which will be much more effective, which is much more faster than the first dimensional array, right? So what I'm going to do here is so I'm going to use Java for this very quick one, because Java gives me a lot of string functions so that I can easily code, right? So here the first thing that we need to do is get it from the scanner class, create a scanner object in scanner class from the scanner class. So that is actually present in java.util.scanner. Guys, remember, you don't have to use import in code vita, which is given by TCS. Yeah, I can code it in, I will be downloading it in C as well. Okay, I will be giving you the code in C as well, but here I'm going to just do it in Java because it'll be easy, and then we have short time now, right? So that is why I'm just coding it in Java. Now first thing that I'm going to do is get an integer n. So I'm going to do that by using next int. Okay, so here as well, this is like scanf. Okay, this is scanf. This is what scanf does. Okay, this one is scanf in C, right? Similarly, so what I'm going to do is for the first sum of diagonal 1, I'm going to put it as 0. But before that, I need to get the input array elements from the user. So when I'm going to take the array elements from the user, I'm going to use sc.next. Remember guys, this will be comma separated string. So it is a string, comma separated string, right? So this is my input. Now in Java, it gives me a particular function called as split using comma. Okay, so that will give me an array of strings. Okay, so for example, if your input is a comma b comma c comma d, okay, if that is your input, that will be stored in input. And then the moment you do split of comma, then what it does is it makes an array where 0th index is a, and then first index is b, and second index is c, and so on. I'll give the code to you in C. You don't have to worry about it, but I'll code it in Java. The reason is we have short time. That's the reason. Okay. And then why then Java? Because it gives me a lot of inbuilt function. I need to write my own function in order to split it using comma. So that's why it will be easy here in order to do it in Java. Okay. So now once I'm doing it, I can do a for loop which starts from I0, and then I needs to go till length of elements. You use dot length in order to get the length of the array element in Java. Okay. Now remember guys, I'm going to solve it for the diagonal 1. So diagonal 1 is index will increment. Okay, index will increment by I equal to I plus 1. Okay, not 1 plus plus. So I will be equal to I plus n plus 1. Okay, that's how it is getting incremented, right? I is equal to I plus n plus 1. And you remember sum of the diagonal 1, it's starting from 0. Okay, it is starting from 0 here, right? So that's why I'm starting I from 0, and then I'm going till I is equal to I plus n plus 1. That is my increment. Now once that is done, you can do sum of diagonal is equal to sum of diagonal plus elements of I. But the problem here is, if we do elements of I, then actually element of I is storing string value of 1 or 2 or whatever, right? It is storing it as string. So in order to convert that into array, sorry, in order to convert that into an integer, we use integer.parseInt, integer.parseInt in Java. Okay, guys, I will do it in C. You don't have to worry. I will give you the code in C. Okay, it will be quite big and we will not be able to complete it within the time. So that is the reason I'm doing it in Java. Both are same. Both will give you the same output. I'm going to give it to you in C. Okay. The zip file that I'm saying, it will be in the description after the end of video. I will give it to you. That will be in there. Okay. So once this is done, I'm going to do it for sum of diagonal 2. But for sum of diagonal 2, here we are starting from second, right? We are starting from second. Now, if you go here, we are starting from first. That means what? I need to start the array from n minus 1. I need to start the loop from n minus 1. So once that is done, I'm going to again loop through elements than length, and then here the increment will be minus 1. As we discussed here, this is n I is equal to I plus n minus 1. That's the reason why I'm putting this. But if we observe carefully here, when we are jumping two steps in the sum of second diagonal, we are not including the last one. You guys noticed this? Actually, we are supposed, if you increment, if you start from 2 and then you increment 2, 5 and then 7 and then 9, but actually we are not including this 9, right, in calculating the sum of diagonal 2. At the same time, here also, if I increment it by 1 and 1, right, means first, second and then third element I should have added, but I have not added the third element. So that means what? I cannot go till end of the array. I need to stop one step before the end of the array, right? I need to stop one step before the end of the array. So now if you stop one step before the end of the array, then this is what you need to do, right? This is the same thing which you are going to do it in C. This is the same thing that you are going to do it in Python. This is what you need to do it in Perl, Java, C, C++, any language. This is the same thing. Okay, this is more on logic, and that is what TCS tests you on. Okay, forget about the language. Any language you can use and then code, that's not important, right? Now this will be sum of diagonal 2 plus sum of diagonal 2 plus integer dot parseInt of elements of I. Now guys, one important point, integer.parseInt will convert the string into integer, okay, in Java. Now I will also tell you how do we convert a string or a character in C from a character into an integer. That also I will tell you. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. And now all you have to do is just print sum of, yeah guys, one more important thing, while printing in TCS Ninja, please do not use like this. Okay, please you do not please do this. Okay, output is ABC, output is hello world, output is 5. Don't do all those things. That is what I'm mentioning from the very beginning. Please only focus on whatever they are asking. Okay, do not do anything extra in output, because that is going to affect your marking directly. Okay, for example, if the expected output, let's say 2 and 3, this is the input, and you are going to do perform addition operation, and then your output should be 5. Okay, that is what they are expecting. Now if you are printing the output as the output is 5, even though your functionality is right, just because of the printf statement or just because of the system.out.println, you are going to lose the entire mark. You will not even get 1 mark for coding a very big logic or a very small logic. That doesn't matter. So please do not put anything extra in the output. Okay. So directly I'm going to print the sum of diagonal 1 and sum of diagonal 2. Okay. Guys, another important thing is, if you have to check your code and then you don't have to install C or Java or whatever it is, so you can use an online editor. Many different online editors are present, but my personal preference, my personal choice is this. Okay, this is for C, this is for Java, this is for Python, this is for Perl, this is for C++. Okay, you can use these online editors and then practice the coding question like how we are doing it now. Okay, so I can pause the video and take a snapshot of it and then we can proceed. Right. So now once I do this, now what makes what is happening is, I will start from 0 first, and then I will get, first is 0. I will be starting from 0, and then I will get incremented as I plus n minus n plus 1. So n plus 1 is actually a constant. Here n plus 1 is 4, right? When n is 3, n plus 1 is 4. So I is equal to I plus 4, that becomes 4. Then an I is equal to I plus 4 again, that becomes 8, and then so on and so forth. At the very same time, here what happens is, I starts from n minus 1. That means I starts from 2 here, right? When I is starting from 2, then I is equal to I plus n minus 1. Again, n minus 1 is constant here. N minus 1 is actually 2, right? When n is 3, n minus 1 is 2. So I is equal to I plus 2. That means 4 and then 6. You will not get 8 because elements.length is 9. And then I have subtracted it by 1. That means this whole thing will become 8. So only when I is lesser than 8, the loop will run. So you will not get 8. You will get only 2, 4, and 6. Okay. So then if you print these two, then you are going to get the output of sum of diagonal 1 and sum of diagonal 2. Right? As simple as that. So two different for loops. One is running from 0 to length, and then increment is n plus 1, and then the second for loop is I is equal to n minus 1, and then the length is minus 1, and then it is incrementing by n minus 1. Right? So with this, we will be able to identify the sum of diagonal 1 and sum of diagonal 2 as well. Okay. So I'll give you one more bonus question which you can solve it, which will be available. I will be giving you the solution as well. So that is, for example, so this is asked again in the previous one only. So let's assume that you have an array here. Okay, array index is 1, 2, and then here you have A, B, C. Okay, if you do an array rotation 1 time left, okay, now you need to print the array elements in the order. So 1 time left if you rotate, now B will go here, C will go here, and then A will go here. It will become B, C, A. Okay. If you rotate it twice, then what will happen? You rotate it once and then rotate that again. So it will become C, A, B. Okay. 0th index, first index, second index. Again, if you rotate it, actually you will get back the same original array because there are only 3 arrays, 3 elements in the array. Okay. So what they have asked us is, they will give you the array elements as a comma separated value like this they will give, and they will also tell you how many array elements are present. Now, in the third line, they are going to give you how many times you have to rotate it in the left side. Then you need to print the output like this using space separated string. Yes, you can use modulus trick. There is no problem. Exactly. We don't have to actually rotate the array. You just have to print the rotated array. Okay. So you don't have to actually rotate the array. You can just print the array. But the problem is sometimes, Akhil, what TCS does is they take care of printing. Okay, you just have to modify the array, and then at the end you need to use one particular function which you have to pass the array as an argument, and they will be printing it. Okay, so that means for that reason you might have to actually rotate the array. I'm just giving you an heads up. Okay, what you are saying is 100% right. You can just print it by using some modulus operator. Excellent. But sometimes what happens is they might ask you to just rotate the array and pass it as a parameter. Okay, so please be aware of these two things, and then you will be able to get it right. Okay, so you can try solving this. So this problem, you can also solve it using right and left and all these. So these are the varieties of problem that you will get. Okay, so left rotation of an array. Please focus on these kind of array operations. They might ask you these kind of questions. Yeah, anything is fine. Yeah, anything is fine, guys. As long as you get the output right, anything is fine. Okay, so that's what we saw in the last question itself, right? In the question of matrix, right? We don't even actually have to create a matrix. You don't even have to create a matrix, right? But still we got the output, right? So again, at the same time, the previous one, the series, actually they are asking us to create a series and get the nth element. We didn't even create the entire series, right? We can just predict the nth element. So thanks, Akhil, for helping me. So modulus operator is the one which is going to give you the remainder when you divide something by something. For example, if you divide 5 by 2, you will get 2. Okay, and then the remainder will be 1, right? So in order to get the remainder, you can use modulus operator. So the remainder will be 1 here. Okay, so for example, 5 modulus 10 will give you 5 as the remainder, but 5 divided by 10 will be 0. Okay, yeah, so thanks guys for watching. So I might have to close the live session now. So thanks a lot for watching, and thanks a lot for spending your time on Sunday. So please see the description, and then we will be giving you a particular link from which you can download the entire C syllabus, and then you can also download the data structure syllabus. And then please hit a subscribe button and then the notification icon, because in few more days we are going to come up with data structures like how we discussed today, coding and then programming logic a little bit. We will be coming up with few more classes which speaks about data structures in detail. For example, arrays, trees, in-order traversal, pre-order traversal, these kind of questions which they might ask in advanced section of programming MCQ. Okay, so all you have to do is, if you want, again you watch the video and then get back to us. If you can write to us, and then you can comment to us, and then we will be more than happy to help you guys. Okay, all the best for your TCS Ninja, guys. Hope most of you will clear the exam and then get placed, right? Thanks a lot. Bye bye, guys. Signing off, Arvind from Ethnus. Bye bye.